Jeff "Candy Slim" Merritt was boxing's equivalent of a basketball playground legend. His rep was built on hearsay and rumors, yet he struggled to translate his skills from the gym to the professional arena. Jeff Merritt was born on January 1st, 1948, in Kansas City, Missouri. His father died in 1953, and one of his brothers was killed in an accidental shooting. This left his mother to support 9 children as a cook in a Kansas City hospital. But it was the temptations of the street that proved to be Merritt's Achilles heel. "I robbed a finance company before my 16th birthday," Merritt said. "Only thing I got out of it was 29 months behind bars." Merritt admitted he was a misguided teen with 5 of the wrong kind of friends when they tried to hold up an insurance company. Merritt was sentenced to 7 years for driving a getaway car, which didn't get away. He was sent to prison in Joplin, Missouri, the same place where Sonny Liston served one of his terms. "I learned a lot in prison," Merritt said. "It frightened me. This guy in the cell next to me had bushy hair like mine, an afro. One day he was told that he had been sentenced to death. His hair turned from black to white in 2 or 3 days. He aged a lifetime in less than a week." You don't forget things like that. While in prison, Merritt learned a trade, getting a certificate in sewing, but found his calling in the boxing ring. Having the same instructors as Sonny Liston, Merritt competed against his fellow inmates, beating them all. On one occasion, a former #1 NFL draft choice, Francis P., came to the prison and offered to take on the toughest man in the boxing program. Merritt accepted the challenge and knocked P down during their sparring session. Merritt then represented the prison in amateur tournaments, fighting in Army camps and the Golden Gloves. Heavyweight legend Joe Louis was ringside for one of these tournaments, and Merritt caught his eye. Sonny Liston also heard about Merritt's situation and wanted to sponsor him for parole, but the authorities wouldn't turn him over to Liston's custody because of Sonny's past prison record. Liston then went to Joe Louis and former featherweight champion Sandy Sadler, who vouched for Merritt's character. Merritt was released on parole and managed by businessman Bill Perry. "When I got out of jail," Merritt said, "Joe Louis told me I'd have to be a solid citizen. I'd have to learn to conduct myself and get along with people." Perry found Merritt work in a labor union and turned him pro in February of 1968. Merritt won his first 5 fights before his chin failed him in a 3-round knockout loss to Johnny Gauze, but he rebounded nicely, winning 8-round decisions over undefeated prospect Roy Tiger Williams and veteran Henry Clark. His manager, Bill Perry, was then bought out of his contract by a group of businessmen, which included comedian Henny Youngman and future promoter Bob Arum. Their contract signing included the appearance of a belly dancer who showed up as a surprise at the press conference, raising the eyebrows of the athletic commission. The group delegated training responsibilities to Angelo Dundee and Bundini Brown, who nicknamed Merritt Candy Slim. But the businessmen underestimated how unreliable Merritt's character was. The first of many incidents took place when Merritt was scheduled to face Muhammad Ali in 1970 for an exhibition bout. Merritt dropped out at the last minute, stating that he would not be able to last the 6-round distance. Later, Merritt signed to face journeyman Leroy Caldwell, but didn't show up for the bout. The ring announcer informed the crowd that Merritt could not fight because of a hand injury. But trainer Angelo Dundee later contradicted this statement, telling reporters that Merritt couldn't fight because he said he felt weak. "All of these fighters have idiosyncrasies," Dundee said. "You can't figure them out. Merritt's just mixed up." The Miami Boxing Commission didn't buy Merritt's story and suspended him indefinitely. The cancellations and unpredictability of Merritt's behavior led to rumors and later confirmations of drug use. His career stagnated and he suffered from depression because of his lack of progress in the sport. A proposed fight with Floyd Patterson fell through, while George Foreman declined $50,000 to face Merritt on the Ali-Jimmy Ellis undercard. A rift later developed on his management team, and they released him from his contract. Trainer Angelo Dundee supported him until a fast-talking manager named Don King took over his contract, making him the first fighter to be signed by King. Merritt left Florida for New York to fight under King's banner, where he was soon joined by another hard-hitting heavyweight, Earnie Shavers. Former light heavyweight champion Archie Moore assumed training duties and had Merritt spar with Shavers. Merritt broke Shavers' jaw in one session, prompting Shavers to quit in the middle of a round and painfully walk back to the locker room. The injury forced Shavers to cancel a bout with Jerry Quarry. Enraged by the missed opportunity, King dismissed Moore as the camp trainer. After over a year of inactivity, Merritt got a shot at a recognizable name in former WBA heavyweight champion Ernie Terrell. Merritt blasted Terrell around the ring, stopping him in the first round. "Remember the name Candy Slim," King gushed after the bout. "He'll be champ next year. Don't bring us mortal men." "We want giants." 2 months later, Merritt became the first man to floor Ron Stander in what resembled a legalized mugging. Merritt then found himself featured in numerous boxing magazines, and King didn't hold back with his superlatives. "Merritt will excel and exceed every lavish praise I bestow on him," King said. However, Merritt's success was short-lived, as 4 months later, Henry Clark stopped him in a rematch of their first fight 5 years earlier. All of Merritt's weaknesses seemed to be laid bare in the defeat, namely his shaky chin. Don King released him, and Merritt didn't fight for another 2.5 years. In October of 1974, he was one of 3 men who kicked down the door of a Kansas City couple, robbed them of a TV set, a pistol, a watch, and $13. He was also charged for putting a broken bottle to the throat of a man that he claimed cheated him in a game of dice. Merritt was then returned to the same Missouri State Prison where he first went in for robbery. "He was an awful mixed-up kid," Dundee said. "He always was." But in March of 1976, Merritt was paroled, and 5 months later, he was in the ring with Stan Ward, who knocked him out in 3 rounds. Merritt then popped in and out of gyms in the Miami area, announcing a comeback to whoever would listen. His name returned to the news only after he shot a man outside of a bar. Merritt argued that he shot the man in self-defense 5 times. The jury agreed, acquitting him in June of 1978. But by the early 1990s, Merritt had reportedly returned back to the drug lifestyle. He was arrested for burglary in Indian Springs, Nevada. Internet forum postings claimed that he suffered a stroke in prison and was released to the care of his sister as he passed away in 2014. "I never tried to get a job," Merritt once said. "I just felt sorry for myself. I ended up taking drugs just to forget."